Que lo que, Knicks fans? Welcome to episode 22 of Knicks Fans Wilding. February 2nd, 2022 was yesterday. Only right, this is episode 22. Come on, you already know the vibe. Triple Lemon, the building as always. And we coming at you the day after the Knicks lose to the Memphis Grizzlies. Another hard fought loss by the New York Knicks. I mean, that's just been the theme of the season. Just tough losses, 50-50 balls, not going the Knicks' way. It was a tough loss, man. But we got a special guest today, Ersin, dropping some dimes on the Knicks international player, Rokas, who might be a big part of the rotation next year, maybe. I mean, there's been a lot of videos of him circulating around, and we had to get somebody on the international end to check it out for us. Big shout out to Ersin, and big shout out to Worldwide Knicks for last week's episode. Shout out to our guy Omar, came through, did his thing, man. Such a great episode. I had a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun on this episode with Ersin. Next week, Thursday, we might be doing a live show for the NBA trade deadline. If you want to join, hit me or Don Juan up. It's gonna be open invite. See who wants to come through, and the Knicks might make a move. Knicks might not make a move. So let's talk about it next week. But as always, man, I'm here with my guy Don Juan. Tell the people it's really good.
Yo, what's going on? What's going on? Your boy Don Juan here. Keep it nice and simple. I know you guys want to watch my guy Ersin kill it, but if you guys are new listeners, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We trying to get up to over 100. Doing a giveaway when we reach 100. To those specifically that are subscribed to the channel, we are doing a giveaway. So make sure to be part of the giveaway. Also as well, make sure to like the video. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. At the end of the day, that's how we keep the channel running. We keep the channel running and moving up on the ladder. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of plans and things that we got going on. And by simple subscribe, a simple like, it'll help us boost our projections as well. But
Motivation, man. Yes, motivation.
of course, and let us know that we're doing a good job too, man. Because we, at the end of the day, we ain't getting paid for this, but we appreciate the feedback. Shout out, y'all Knick fans out there holding it down for us.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Knicks fans, as Don Juan said. Thank you for listening, and thank you for subscribing. And yeah, man, let's take a listen to Ersin. What you had to say. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in Knicks land, and I hope you enjoy that. Que lo que, as promised, we are here with Ersin in the building. One of the smartest dudes on the draft Twitter. I mean, this guy just watches these games and analyzes these players like no one else. I mean, you have to check him out. Check out his Twitter at EDEMIR NBA. That's Demar NBA. Check my guy out because you wouldn't be disappointed whether it's either the analysis, the videos. It goes from everybody from the NBA. I mean, I saw you throw a DeMar DeRozan video the other day. That kind of threw for a curveball. Usually targeting young guys, and here you are throwing DeMar DeRozan, which was interesting though. I liked it. You need to bring back the quickly assists, man. You started it off, and you kind of tapered down, all right?
Yeah, man, it's kind of.
I'm telling you, you got to bring quickly assist back. But without further ado, Ersin, man, tell the people it's really good, bro. How you been?
I'm doing good, man. Good to be on the show again. Appreciate the dope intro, man. It's make my day, made my night. So, appreciate it. Get it done with all with you guys, man. For sure.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the last show you did with Omar as well. Loyal listener over here. So, for every listener that's after this show, make sure to subscribe to the show as well. A lot of dope guests on the show. I'm honored to get back again. So, let's kill it, man.
That's
Appreciate
dope,
it,
man.
appreciate it.
Shout out to Omar, as you mentioned.
For sure.
Worldwide Knicks. If you haven't checked out that episode, check it out. He dropped a lot of gems there too. But here we are with Ersin, off the ball, very own Ersin in the building. And let's get right into it with these New York Knickerbockers. Gosh, pretty soon we're gonna have to get you back on the show probably because we're gonna be talking about draft picks and lotteries because it's getting bad. We need to draft. We need you to find us the next Nikola Jokic. All right, that's what I'm saying, man. You gotta find us that next guy. But I want to start off the show by talking about a Knicks player that we do have. in the stash. I mean, you talk about him extensively a lot of times, and Knicks fans, we just looking, searching for positives. So anytime you throw videos of our guy drafted with the 34th pick, I think, Rokas.
32nd or 33rd.
32nd, or it's one of those. And I
One
think
of
it's
those
32nd.
second round picks, we got Rokas in the building. I mean, the guy from the videos you've seen, I've seen him do a nice little hezzy, go into the basket. I mean, the handles are getting way better. The 3-point shooting, that's been a strength of his. That he's
Yeah,
been,
he isn't, really taking a lot of threes, so
yeah.
especially if
So
we can.
let me get this before we get started. Last three games, February 3rd, he had 9.5 rebounds on assists. Today, he had a game today, had a nice little game. Before that, 5 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. So the game before that, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. And the game before that, 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. So his season high has been 16 points. I mean, those are impressive numbers when you're talking about the Euro League, because it's a different league out there, right? These guys are not dropping 30, 40 a night like in the NBA. It's tougher. Defense is tougher. Just talk about a
Yeah.
little bit about Rokas for us, Ersin.
Yeah, for sure, man. If you look at Rokas Jokubaitis' game, I think the most impressive part is his offense. He's a great, pick and roll ball handler. That's the vocal point of his offense. I think if you look at these guys, that especially when we get to the numbers, I think the numbers in Europe are a little bit deflated because you play 40 minutes instead of 48 with a lot lower pace. It was just the overall compared to the NBA, it's a lot higher fundamental game, man. So a lot of more tactics. So those players, it doesn't matter if you're a team story, if you're the role player. Everyone has his task. Everyone, got to understand the fundamentals. So it's mostly pure tactical basketball. Maybe the closest comparison to the NBA is maybe, Greg Popovich. Tim Duncan was a star on that team. Manu was a star. Parker was a star. But those guys, it's very rare to see one guy put maybe 50 points in a game. Because they all have their roles and they play in that team game. So that's what you see in Europe as well. So if you look at the EuroLeague, I think the top three is mainly Real Madrid, Barcelona, for who Jokubaitis is playing, and you have Anadolu Efes from Turkey, and you have Milan from Italy. So those are the 4-5 best teams. And those are the teams with the deepest pockets, so they can compete every year. And mainly, if you look at Barcelona's game, it's purely around Mirotic, who played for the Bulls in the NBA. He wasn't winning sixth man of the year, was he getting contention before he signed in Europe? So he was a good player in the NBA.
That's the guy that punched him.
Yeah, for sure, bro. If you look at this game, it is mainly what's my unique selling point with Rokas Jokubaitis is that he doesn't really need a screen to get past the guy, because if you look at his overall speed, it isn't really, he's not the quickest guy. But if you look at the comparison in the NBA that I like to use, maybe, guys that can control the pace very well. So they're not the quickest guys, but the smartest guy that can, just with those bursts, get that good burst, but not elite speed. And they can play with that to, get maybe shake a defender out of balance or even get past them just because they time very well. You got maybe Darren Williams, is a guy that comes to mind, from the Utah Jazz, and was at the Nets, I think, before he retired. There was a guy who wasn't really the quickest, the best athlete, but he was very smart. He knew how to get past the guy, and Jokubaitis has that in his game as well, because he's a guy that can really control his speed very well, and he doesn't really need a screen to get separation from a guy, so he can really show his burst. And with his, I think he has a good to elite first step, not an elite first step, but very in between. So I'm also a little bit biased. So if I call it the good first step, maybe that's more better fit for him. But it's mainly, if you look at that guy, he's in a situation in Barcelona where he's playing for a contender. Their primary point guard, Nick was injured for 3 months. So he had basically, that was his luck to get, to be a starter, to get the most, to be the leading guard for them. But he's mostly a secondary ball handler, man. I think if you take a look at him, at the situation maybe for the Knicks next season, he won't be starting, I think he won't be the starting point guard very soon either. So, but he will be a great secondary ball handler in the second unit, man. Maybe alongside Derrick Rose. because he's mainly on the offense. He's playing a lot at the rim, so the Knicks desperately need rim pressure, man. Because if you look at the stats, the Knicks have the fourth worst field goal percentage from the pick and roll ball handler this season, and that's very bad, man. Because if you look at the times where Derrick Rose was on the team with Taj Gibson, those two guys are really good pick and roll partnership, you know.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Jokubaitis, also needs a guy like that, needs a big like that, so he can get in sync with. Is it Mitch? I don't think it is Mitch, because if you look at the NBA in terms of how big men play, we don't really have a good screener, man. I think Mitch is horrible at setting screens.
He's like,
because man.
About rolling too quick, but let me ask you real quick about Rokas. You mentioned that you think he might come up next year. Definitely, you saying that because I've seen the Knicks draft a lot of players and then they just never come over. So you're saying Rokas should be coming to New York next season, correct? And you also mentioned his offense as one of his strengths. What do you think is one of his weaknesses, or what he has to continue to improve on? Like, how's his defense, his outside shooting? You know, that's been putrid for the Knicks point guard for many, many years. So, what do you think about his shooting, his defense, or any weaknesses? And why do you think he's coming next year? Why do you believe that he will be on the New York Knicks roster next year?
Because if you look at his game now, he's playing for a contender in Europe. You know, he's showing that he's ready to contribute. And I think the Knicks look for a contributor to improve that, you know, that pick and roll game, that rim pressure, because all of the trade rumors that you hear now about Eric Gordon, about De'Aaron Fox, those are guys that can get to the rim easily. And this is a guy that can do that as well. That's what the Knicks really, you know, lack at the moment. So that's one of the reasons. And if you look at one of his weaknesses, I think the defense is one of the weaknesses, not because he's a bad defender, because he understands rotations. I think he has good off-ball plays as well. He has some good reads as well. But he isn't, you know, against quicker guys, you know, elite NBA guards. You're going to struggle, man. And I think that's the part not to forget as well, because offensively he's been good, but defensively he's not really a two-way star in that type of sense. But to be honest, that's not what you're getting in the second round of the draft, unless you're very lucky or you're scouting very well. But the whole situation where he's in, it makes a lot of sense. You know, he played with Pau Gasol in the summer. Pau Gasol retired eventually. His coach played for the Portland Trailblazers as well, was a point guard as well. He's Lithuanian. He is at a young age playing abroad for the first time. So all these kind of things to make players' life harder in the NBA, you know, in all different setting, in all different environment. He's already witnessing those things now in Barcelona. So in terms of him, you know, translating to the NBA, I think his biggest unique selling point, I think that's what you see with most European guys making the step to the NBA, because they are so focused on the fundamental game in Europe. That's the difference between, you know, the college game and the European game. In the youth development in Europe is the physical tools. That's what you focus on college. If you look at some college teams, you know, if you're a good athlete, you got some good physical tools. Some teams even draft you just for that, you know. But in Europe, they don't really look at that. So they teach you all the fundamentals that you can try and get you to elite level at the fundamental part of the game, so that you're really part of the team, you know. It doesn't matter if you're a star or not. Everyone's going to play 25 minutes a night. So it doesn't matter really how good you are. The team comes first. And one of those, the coach that he's playing for is also a badass, man. Imagine Greg Popovich angry, but all the time, bro. So this guy is like that all the time. He's just, you know, acting like these adult men are just like kids, you know. Maybe kicking their ass if they make a mistake, just like that. So there's no room to make a mistake. Because if you make a mistake, then you really face the consequence. That's a big part between the NBA and the European game, and especially for Barcelona, who is trying to win the EuroLeague. They throw a lot of money in it, so it's not just
when the playoff starts.
The playoff starts I think it's in March. They have 34 games of the regular season. I think it's March or April. Then the playoff starts.
And you know, Tibbs, he likes fundamentals and he likes that attention to detail. So we definitely gonna see Rokas soon. We definitely, hopefully, we'll see him next.
Sure, man. And I think the playoffs are going to be crucial for him to showcase his defense, man, because that's when they're really, just like the NBA players. It's a whole different game, bro. It's just a chess game. It doesn't really matter if you shoot the ball very well or not. I wanted to add one thing quick about the
Go ahead.
three-pointer. The reason that you don't see those a lot is the shot selection, man. They have some great spot-up shooters that they just get trying to set in his place, so he doesn't really have room to shoot as well. So that's something I'm very uncertain about as well, how the transfer to the NBA. He can be shooting 3 or 4 a night, and we can be shooting maybe one and maybe hit like 40% at a decent clip, but he is really in that shot selection, man. He doesn't really have that individual freedom to just create his own shot and go for maybe a step back three or something. He showed that he can do that, but there's really room for that kind of individual freedom to make his own play. So that's kind of sets his back. That kind of, makes you assume that he can't really shoot a three ball very well, but that's one part that I'm not very certain about as well. So that's the risky part, how that's going to translate to the NBA.
I do have a question though. I seen online that some people were comparing his game to almost like Josh Giddey, that was just drafted this year. Josh Giddey is a bit taller, but in terms of how like the playing style, composed with the ball, is pretty crafty with the ball as well. Like I was surprised by the handles, but in terms of how he sees the floor and could create plays for others, like that's what the premise of the comparison was.
Yeah.
Do you see that comparison as well, or is that a bit of a reach?
Bro, I love that you brought it up, man, because when I was preparing for the show, I was, looking at his advanced stats. Those are the passing stats are similar to Giddey, man. He has a 31% assist rate to a 22% usage. So 1.5%, ratio there. And the big indicator in this one is, assist rate to usage mainly, gives you an indication how effective his playmaking is. So I think if the usage and the assist rate are equal, that's okay. It's balancing. But if the assist rate is higher, then it's mainly indicated that his playmaking is having a positive impact on the team. Of course, the NBA and the European level are not comparable, but Josh Giddey has an assist rate of 31.9%. Jokubaitis has 31%. And they both swim around the 22% usage. I think they're both. I think Josh Giddey is 6'7" or so. I think Jokubaitis is 6'4", so maybe the size. But I actually like the comparison, man, because Josh Giddey's offense wasn't really his unique selling point, and it isn't really that in the NBA yet. He's working on the shot selection. I think that's something that Jokubaitis is going to face as well, man. Because I really like the comparison. I think they're both really crafty. That's mainly the main comparison. And as you say, man, some of those plays are incredible. With the smooth hezzy to get by his guy. The last time he made the guy dance just like Lance Stevenson did when he was in Indiana. So that guy is really crafty with the ball in his hands. But the biggest translation risk in this one is how much of a ball he has are you going to have in the NBA. So I think that's the part of the NBA drafting as well, because a lot of those guys are really good with the ball in his hands, but you're not going to get a lot of usage in the NBA if you're going to be a second round pick or maybe a secondary ball handler on the second unit. So that's one of the things that's mainly in question now, not in question, but it's very uncertain what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Look, I also know that if he's going to play in the second unit, he's not going to get the ball in every position. You see that with Grimes, for example, as well. He's making his own plays. He's making winning plays on defense, etc. I'm not going to see Jokubaitis do that, but that's mainly the translation risk.
It's still a long season here, fellas.
Yeah.
Long season before we talk about Quentin Grimes and Rokas. I want to talk briefly about your big board. If you haven't, like you said, check out Ersin. He dropped his top 100. And this weekend, I'm not going to lie, I saw a little bit of my guy, Jaden Ivey. Oof, that man with the game winner. I seen you had him, I believe it was 7 or 8 on your big board.
Yeah.
Not like Ty Washington. These are big time guards that are coming up this league. So if the Knicks don't fix this point guard rotation at the trade deadline, we're going to be looking deep in the draft, and we just don't know what position. Very briefly, we don't want to think about draft. Way too early draft analysis. We're going to bring you back for the draft, definitely. But let's talk about those guys briefly. And what do you see? What's a surprising lead guard that you think the Knicks can throw their eyes at? That might be a sleeper.
Well, if you look at, you mentioned Ty Washington, because if you look at this year's draft class compared to last year was wild, man. Last year was full of those games, I think between the picks 1 and 40, whoever you took was a good guy, man.
Yeah.
For example,
I
the
agree.
Brooklyn Nets took 3 guys, Cam Thomas, Day'Ron
Cam
Sharp,
Thomas, yep.
and Kessler Edwards. Those 3 guys, going to be solid role players for them.
They
They
contributing.
took them, yeah. For example, Cam Thomas was going to maybe be a lottery pick this year. He's really that good. But he's also one of those, not to talk about Cam Thomas, but just as an example, one of those high usage guys that's not going to get the ball in his hands too much in the NBA. But coming back to your question about this year, I think the leading guard depth is not very good. You mentioned Jaden Ivey and Ty Washington, but those are the 2 main guys for the Knicks to really get excited about. Jaden Ivey, who gives you a little bit of those Russell Westbrook, Ja Morant, vibes. Russ before he got injured, with the deadly burst and the high level speed, man. And I think Jaden Ivey is working on his playmaking a lot as well. But some of them have Jaden Ivey in the top 3. I saw one guy had him was board at number 1, so I think Jaden Ivey is a little out of reach.
Yeah.
But Ty Washington, he's also going to be a top 10 pick, is what I predict. I had him at 12, but he's really moving up. In the standings because he's having such a good game in Kentucky. He's really leading that team. But I think the leading guard is, if you got a leading guard, we had to took him last year. And we did with Deuce, but he's not playing, So
Yeah.
I don't think Deuce is going to be the leading point guard in New York, but he's going to be a solid role player. But he's really not getting his chances. He's balling in the G League, but
Yeah, he's
that's
killing
mainly
it.
But he's not really given the shot by the coach. So I think that we see that in the Rising Stars Challenge this year. There are 0 Knicks players just because the coach aren't playing them.
Oh man, come on.
But for sure.
You killing Tiz right now, man. But yeah, it's true. I mean, I just think
I can't help it.
Nah, it's
not
true,
really
bro.
defending Tiz, but you give Evan Fournier $78 million. You re-sign Alec Burks. You're just not giving the 25th overall pick that time, but give credit to Quentin Grimes. I mean, whenever he got the playing time, he took it by the throat, and now Tibbs is forced to play him. So to kill Tibbs about them not being in the Rising Star game, listen, the New York Knicks team this year was not designed to play rookies. I mean, think about it. I mean, before the season, we were talking anywhere from 40 to 50 wins. I mean, the lowest person, Vegas even gave us 41.5 wins, and they be hating on the Knicks. So for the Knicks, I mean, I get the fans. Everybody's in it's thin ice right now. I could say it's thin ice because everybody's upset. I mean, the Knicks 23 and 27 disappointed, which brings up the next topic. I mean, Ersin, you always bringing up stats about the Knicks. I mean, talk about the pace of game and stuff like that. I mean, the Knicks 23 and 27. I mean, I was yelling 50 wins beginning of the season, and I was hyped. I know the Derrick Rose injury was a huge blow, and I mean, Julius Randle, we could go on and on about the regression in his game. It's just been tough, but what would you attribute to those struggles? I mean, like, what stats, as you look and scout the Knicks all the time, what pops up to you? And then Don Juan, I want you to kind of piggyback on Ersin, what he said, and see what he says. Excuse me.
Well, if you look at the stats, but the first thing what comes to mind is the pace, man. Last season, Knicks were dead last in pace. The Knicks were really controlling the games, but that's also maybe a disadvantage because every score that we have, every point is just a half-court grind, man. We don't get easy buckets. I think that's the main thing between, getting those 5 or 10 points extra a game. We don't really get a lot of easy buckets. We see the second unit do it as well. Obi Toppin is, I think it's in 90th percentile or something in transition scoring. That guy's a machine in transition, man. Mm-hmm. I think quickly is really dishing him with those dimes as well in transition. So the second unit, they're the guys to blame. So we see it every game with the plus minus thing. I think that part is kind of overrated, because the second unit is playing at opponent's second units, and the second unit in New York is closer to the starting unit in terms of quality than other teams, in my opinion. So that gives them, the advantage that they're going to do better than the starting unit. Not to make an excuse for the starters. They have to play better as a team, as a 5 together. But overall, I think the pace is going to be key because in the last 10 games again that we are last in pace again. So we're really controlling the game again. I think compared to last season, what Randall is doing very well is he's setting more of those off-ball screens, We see at the most offense, they really try to create separation for the shooter. And the shooter is getting those looks. And early in the season, man, we saw it against Orlando twice. We got those open looks and they were converted because for the same record, we could have 27 and 23 and everything was okay. Not good, but okay. So
Oh, definitely.
most of those losses are just because the Knicks threw the game away, man. It's
I
two
agree.
times against Magic. Those close games against, I think the close game we won against Philly, because at home, against the Pacers, for example,
Even the Cavaliers. I mean, you think
or the
about the
Cavs
Toronto
won too.
Raptors.
Raptors. Yeah. I mean,
I don't
you
think the
let
Knicks are
Miles
playing bad.
Turner. You let Miles Turner hit 7 3. We talk
Yeah,
about
bro, it's
guys having
ridiculous.
career nights against us, and it's definitely um, been you hit it right there on the noggin right there. The Knicks could have easily been 27-23, and we're singing a whole different tune right now. We're definitely singing a whole different tune. But Don Juan, what do you have to say about Ersin and the struggles about the Knicks?
Man, with the Knicks, I feel like there's still camaraderie to be built. I know Erson brought up the fact that the second unit has been playing great, but I think it's because they've been playing with each other for a while. Where last year, there was 2 seasons of pretty much the same lineup. Peyton was on the team the year before that, so was Bullock. So there was some chemistry built with those guys. Where I think this year, we signed Fournier. That's the guy that got the bag that got paid this summer. Maybe Randall, maybe he feels a bit jealous in a sense. Maybe he doesn't have that relationship with him. Like I said, this guy got paid. He wasn't even in a meeting. It was his agent. This guy was balling in France, doing his thing. So, it's weird to get a guy, especially you don't speak. There's a language barrier, but barely. I mean, Fournier speaks English, but at the same time, like I said, it's just that it's different culture. Pretty sure Randall
Yeah,
thought that it was going to be the same thing as last year. Just pass me the ball, and you see it. I mean, I saw it more, especially early in the season. He's not doing it so often, but he's always coming up to players like, "Give me the ball," as opposed to let me create something off ball, kind of create something for the team. But Randall's always with his hands up, expecting the ball because the offense revolves around him.
Hmm.
And I think that it's been a struggle for Randall to understand. Like, look, you need to take a step back. Look at RJ, how he's expanded his game. He needs to let his team kind of, at the end of the day, ball out. He's trying to take control into his own hands, and the fans are noticing it. And it doesn't help that he has his body language, isn't helping either. He's
yeah,
not there to pick up his brother's back like we saw in that game in Milwaukee when Obi was on the floor. He looked at him, and I mean these are Nick. This is nitpicking situations too because I don't like doing that. Who knows what Randall was really looking at? Could have been looking at a fan.
Hmm.
I do think that a lot of it is just the team chemistry isn't up there, and maybe the coaching has to do with it too, man. I feel like Tibbs has been questionable. He's been doing some questionable substitutions, rotations, and it doesn't help that Derrick Rose is out too. So I think that Derrick Rose, who was the key factor, I feel like in turning the season around last year, he's not around to help the guys. And as much as he could lead by example. He's not really that guy that's vocal and leads with words. He leads by example on the floor and demeanor.
Yeah, man, Derrick Rose injury was a killer. But let's just talk about last game real quick as well. I mean, New York Knicks lose to the Memphis Grizzlies. Wow, Memphis looks good. Like they are a very good
yeah,
team.
bro.
And you got the superstar, of course, in John Morant, but just the pieces work nicely. Jaron Jackson, Steven Adams, he just does his job, catches offensive rebounds, and they just got all the 50-50 balls. Evan Fournier mentioned it. And it was just the Knicks played a good game. They played a good game, but all those 50-50 balls went to Memphis repeatedly. I mean, they just wanted it more. And that's what happens when you're having a bad season. I mean, you just don't get those lucky breaks. But in my little positive spin, I mean, the Knicks played a real good game. I mean, this is a finally um, you mentioned earlier, Ersin, about just those finding the shooters, and they were really looking for Fournier yesterday. He was really knocking it down. 8 threes last night for Evan Fournier. Uh, Disappointing that we wasted that because we don't know when that comes. He's such been an inconsistent shooter this season. But man, listen, the Knicks go out west. We're gonna talk about that next. But this Memphis game, there was a lot of positives. So I want to ask you guys, what's one positive that you saw last night from the Knicks that they can carry over? I mean, this it's 51 games in. I mean, there's still a lot of games. There's still 30 plus games to play, you know. So the Knicks is still tough, but they're right there in the bubble. They're right there in the middle. So what's one positive that they can take here as they go out west?
Yeah, I think the biggest positive, especially in that second unit, I posted, I think it was an hour ago, clip of Grimes being in the good spot with the easy steal. I think especially those second units get the flowers again, man. They were really in sync. I think if you look at the second unit, they're really playing as a team. So, and the first unit is getting there as well. I think I see it a lot more, especially with Randall. And as you said, Don Juan, it was a great point about, Randall forcing things about, I want to be the guy, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. But he has to, give RJ his room. He has to, acknowledge Fournier's role in this team. He has to get the ball in his hands a lot more as well. So I think that's going to be the key factor for the next road trip, and it's going to be a big positive that I see from Randall. I think in the last 5 games or so, he's really making those off-ball plays. He's really, trying to get in the paint because Randall's shooting those tough mid-range shots and threes. And last season, everything was going in for him. So, we were getting spoiled. But that's not going to happen every season. I think this season was, a reality check for him. He hasn't been handling it very well. Negative body language tells it all, the way he's behaving on the court, not picking his guys up. So he's definitely the guy to blame. I think I was defending him for a long time, but I'm really acknowledging that, he's kind of messing up the team chemistry, man, because the team chemistry is not a problem. As you said, no one, these guys are playing for 2 years together, most of the guys, and they have that team chemistry. With Randall being the leader, but if you want to take the next step, you got to acknowledge guys like RJ going to take his spot. Fournier is going to sign this $74 million. He's going to want a ball in his hands, and you got to give him to him, man. Evan Fournier is not an NBA superstar, but he's the second, third option on the Knicks. So you got to keep it real. It's not Randall's team anymore. It's uncertain whose team it is. I want it to be RJ's team in the long term.
Of course.
And I think Randall's trying to put RJ more in his spot as well, trying to get him out of his own fun. RJ make plays, try to do something. I think RJ is doing that a lot better as well. He's shooting way more efficient. I think I posted last week about his effective field goal percentage. He's going to put 30 a night, but efficiency is something that he needs to work on. But that's normal, He's a third-year player. Some players develop slower, some players develop quicker. If you look at the box score, Morant took, I think, 27, 28 shots. He had the same amount of points as Barrett, who took 10 shots less. So that's a big W for RJ Barrett, man. And I think RJ Barrett is going to be the key in this road trip. If you can get maybe 2 or 3 wins against all these tough West teams, that's a win for us. I think that's the focal point moving forward in the West. I think last season with those 9 games winning streak, we played a lot of good games, man. Against the Suns, where we eventually lost. The Nuggets, we played very well, but eventually they let the game go away. Yeah. So a lot of positive from last year's West Coast road trip. I think it was 6-7 games as well. So it's going to be like that again now. So I think the Utah Jazz, maybe they'll miss Gobert again or Spider again. So those teams, you can't beat them, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about that shortly. Don Juan, what you think about any positives that the Knicks can take right here?
For sure. I mean, Ersin took the words out of my mouth, pause, but with the RJ just continues to, playing his game. Even though the last game, who Triple M and I were at against the Kings, he didn't have his best game, but he didn't get in the way. He didn't get in the way of the team either. He let the team flow, and a lot of players stepped up. But in regard to this game, I mean, he played well, and I'm not gonna repeat what you said, Ersin, but one thing I can say about the team is just fighting it out and playing against a team that is arguably one of the best teams in the West. They're killing this year as a group of young guys that could be some sleeper contenders, and the fact that we competed, the score 120 to 108 doesn't really tell you the story of the game.
Yeah.
I know to start the game, we started off bad like usual, but we picked up the slack and the game was competitive. I mean, it was entertaining as hell. It was nice to see Ja, of course, in Madison Square Garden, who was the attraction of the night, I would say, but. We even made it difficult for him. He wasn't himself. The guy was on a roll. He had a bunch of games. I'm not sure. It was a 5-game, over 30 points that he had, and we kept him honest, But at the same time, Memphis is a really good team, and they beat us. But credit that team. They beat us, and we made it hard.
Yeah, sure.
And you mentioned the Suns that when we lost to the Suns last year in the 9-game winning streak. I kind of compared that game to this game where we gave them a fight. We didn't make it easy. And even though the Suns game was a little closer, if it wasn't for Chris Paul making some tough buckets,
Point guard.
the Knicks win that game too. But that's the same thing with this game. The Knicks were in it. They were down 5 or 4 points towards the end of that last 6 minutes and the fourth. Desmond Bain, that extra pass, he's wide open, hit some shots, and that's the ball game.
Ball. 50-50
Yeah,
ball.
especially 50-50 because we were playing a good game. The box score doesn't tell it. Especially, we did our homework, man. Robinson had 8 blocks. Morant had 5 blocks that he needed to swallow, And as you said, he was scoring 30 a night. I think he had a triple-double in his last game or the game before. And he wasn't efficient on the court, but the guys picked him up.
Grimes, once again, man, that defense in the fourth quarter against
he's a home run pick, bro.
The guys are menace on defense. But it was tough. I mean, Kemba Walker, again, a donut on the board. This is just a topic for another day, man. It's so sad to see the downfall of Kemba live. I mean, back-to-back games with 0 points. Once again, just starts off the first quarter, plays a few minutes, doesn't come back. Then they throw him out there in the third quarter, throws up an air ball.
Yeah,
it's really bad for Kemba right now. But, I mean, the trade deadline is next week, so we're definitely going to talk more about Kemba a little next week. And yeah, man, the Knicks go out west, the wild, wild west. We mentioned it at Lakers, at Jazz, at Nuggets, at Warriors, at Blazers. I mean, God, that is a tough West Coast swing. But as I was doing my homework earlier today, I had tweeted it. The Knicks play the Lakers on Saturday. I mean, we don't know. LeBron is uncertain. I mean, who knows? Julius Randle wake up. Yeah, LeBron questionable, quote unquote. So let's see how that goes. Ersin mentioned that Spider and Gobert have been missing. Gobert has a calf injury; those are tricky. You don't know when he's coming back. Mitchell has a concussion, another tricky injury. He's been out a while, so I'm sure he'll be back.
He actually just cleared the concussion protocol. So
there we go. So Mitchell is back. So we'll see him Monday. So the Nuggets, we're gonna play against arguably the MVP in the league, and we know we don't do well against that. I mean, Jokic has had our number since the KP days. I mean, he's killing us always.
He murdered us, man. That MSG, he literally killed us, man. Like Zeke Naji looked like, Ray Allen out there, man.
Man, another career high guy.
That was a bad game right there. A game I wish I forgot. And then Warriors. I did my homework. The Warriors are playing on a back-to-back third game in 4 nights, so you never know what's the status of Curry and Clay. And Portland, I mean, that's the last game of the West Coast trip, so if the Knicks are feeling good, that's a game they got to win. But, I mean, I'm just trying to be positive, but at the end of the day, those are real tough teams, 5 in a row. Ersin, I'm going to start off with you, man. 5 games. What do the Knicks have to do to win maybe 2 or 3 of them, man? And give me a prediction. What you think they're going to do out there?
I think they're going to win 2 or 3 games. I'm really confident because Knicks usually lose against the easy matchup. I think the Orlando Magic. I think even the Warriors won. If Steph is out, they can win, man, because the Warriors are playing really close games. And they are so experienced because they have guys who won multiple championships, and they know how to make those clutch plays. They are scoring in clutch time, and the Knicks obviously losing clutch time. For example, Randall against the Bulls, all those games, man. I think if you look at their clutch stats, we're not a good team at all. But eventually they will come. I really believe in this. I think if you put the games in maybe 8 parts, we are playing really good at 4 or 5 of them, and let the game slip in maybe 1 or 2 really bad, man. I think that's a part of, as Don Juan said, with the team chemistry. Evan Fournier, he's coming new to the team. It was really a nice situation when he signed for the Knicks, because his agent was like, I want the 4-year guaranteed, etc., etc. Of course, we don't know if these reports are really true or not, but let's say assume it's very true. And Bullock was his guy, so. And we're almost 50 games in the season, and we're talking about Randall potentially getting traded. So I know the team is really in a bad spot, but they don't really show it on the court, man. Especially, the sophomores, Obi, quickly. Those are the guys that bring energy to the game, man. They give you hope, especially Grimes. That guy gives you hope, man. From this team isn't lost. Those guys are picking up the slack. Those guys are going to keep picking up the slack, and the stars have to figure it out. And Kemba, as you said earlier, man, that's a sad story, man. I think he's a top 30 scorer in the NBA of all times in terms of total points. To see a guy go back to back without points, throw an air ball, bro, that's bad, man, for him, And that was a risk the team took. So if he's gonna be moved maybe to the Clippers, I think they're gonna look for those scoring guards, So that was a gamble that the front office took. It was a bad one. But, Kemba was home in his hometown. He grew up in New York. He get to play for the Knicks. So that was for him, it was a good experience. But he's a guy that, can put up 40 a night. So maybe in the West, he was like, okay, I'm going to take revenge against the big guys, against the big teams. They're going to show who I am, man. People forget about Charlotte Hornets Kemba, man, because we saw it earlier as well. He had a lot of bad games, was taken out of rotation. He kept his head up. I'm going to respond. And he responded, so big respect for him. So I think mainly because of the Knicks, I think we're not a bad team. We're not playing bad. We're just not executing. We're just not closing games just like the last year. That's the difference between a 27 and 23 record and the record that we're having now, man. Just some silly games where we're giving up big leads against Orlando Magic. Getting guys like Miles Turner, Yeah, bro. I think those two. I took it personal with Orlando Magic, bro. I'm going to lose twice to such a bad team. They're tanking, bro. Come on, man. Look at their record. They maybe have 10 wins and 2 of them in MSG, bro. That is something that's acceptable, man.
Man. I actually been trying to stay away from that, looking up their record just because it just hurts every time.
I'll tell you,
it makes it worse, bro.
11-35, man. 2 other wins against us. It's been terrible.
Yeah, at the road as well, man. So that's something, So. But yeah, we got to keep it real, So that happened, but we don't want to happen again. So I guess Memphis, I expected them to lose. So let's be honest, man. Memphis is one of the hot teams of the NBA. As you said, they're the dark horse contending team. So those are the games that you don't have a problem losing it. But if you give up the fight, the Knicks gave up the fight. They gave them a good game. They kept them close, but they are a better team right now. So that's not a shame to lose against them. But I think if you look at that Portland game, that's a game you gotta win. I think one of those Jazz or Warriors games, that's one of those two. I think that's gonna end up as at a close game. Maybe we get the W or not, but we're gonna give a fight, man. We're not gonna give. I think the one prediction I'm gonna make is that we'll get maybe blown away in one game.
Okay.
Let's say, for example, maybe the Utah Jazz with Gobert and with Spider-Bag. They're gonna kill us, but that's okay. They are one of the best regular season teams of the last 6-7 seasons, and we're not. So that's my prediction, man. I think we're going to win 2 or 3 games, and we're going to get blown away in one game. We're going to play close games.
Really optimistic. I'm intrigued to hear Don Juan because that's usually the optimistic guy.
Hey,
because he might say 4-1. He might overpower you.
Nah. I mean, towards the later half of the 50 games that we've played, I've been a little more skeptic, but a little pessimist. I mean, to this West Coast trip, I'm in the same boat as Ersin, man. 2 to 3 wins, and it's gonna be hard fought. Maybe a lot of it 2, the 3 depends on how injury updates and whatnot, how that plays out. But we didn't mention with the Warriors, Draymond Green is out. I'm not sure when he's coming back. He's pretty much the heart and soul of that team. Obviously it's Curry, but Draymond gets the ball off of Curry's hand and lets Curry play his game. Curry loves coming off the ball, running through screens and whatnot. And when he doesn't do that, you see a lot of more Curry dribbling, isolation plays, and that's not really his best. He could do it, as we saw recently. If you saw that Houston game, he went off against
wild game winning, man.
And KPG set it off. But let me stay with the Knicks here. Yeah, I mean 2 to 3 wins. Hopefully there's no blowout like Ersin said, but there's probably going to be somewhere in the Jazz and Nuggets but also, if I'm not mistaken, Jokic is out too. So, realistically, that there's a lot of things that could play our way, and it could push me to even be optimistic Juan again and go 4-1. But I'm
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. And I told you, man.
4-1 is a possibility. But I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real. Keep it 2 to 3 wins.
2 to 3. Yeah, all right. That's more sane.
I like it, bro.
I guess I gotta be the Grinch, man. I just maybe we take one in LA and then the rest. I mean, no, I like Portland. I like Portland. I'll say 2. I'll say 2. And yeah, man. I mean, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, Thursday, NBA trade deadline. All right, we're gonna do something big here on Knicks Fans Wilding. Stay tuned. Stay on the page, and yeah, we're gonna have a big show Thursday.
February 10th. February 10th.
February
I'm
10th.
gonna tune in for sure, man.
Tune in.
If you're going live?
Yeah, we're going live. We're going live. We got breaking news. We're going live. Let's see what we do Thursday. All right. But yo, Ersin, man, great talk with you again as always.
Sure,
Thank you for always being jumping on the show. And yeah, man, tell the people where they can find you again and what you got coming up.
Well, you can find me at Demir NBA on Twitter. I tweet mostly about the NBA draft, mostly about the New York Knicks. But I like to follow the rookies and the sophomores as well. So I tweet a lot about other teams. For me, it doesn't really matter a lot about who it is. So I think DeRozan was maybe a sensitive topic, because everyone was killing the Bulls. I was going to sign that old guy for such a long contract. But he's responding, man. He's maybe the best season of his career. So, you got to give a guy his flowers, and that's what I'm trying to do. So, it's 90% draft the Knicks, 10% other stuff. I have some of my favorite players on our teams as well. For example, Nasir Little from the Portland Trail Blazers. So, in the Triple M, we're on the same boat, man. I like that Portland team as well with Simons and Little. So, those are the guys I'm mainly tweeting about. And it's just the NBA draft, man. That's the thing I like a lot. That's what I investing this basketball season in. I wasn't really watching a lot of college basketball before that, but this season is going to be a lot more, and I'm watching a lot more of those games just to, understand the game a little bit better this season. It's mostly we're all learning, so I want to understand what's special about college basketball. For wings especially, it's going to be tougher because the pitch is a little bit narrower than the NBA. So these kind of little things, just investing my time, and I love tweeting those things out. So. I'm here in the Netherlands working from home.
Way better. I've seen the growth of it. Definitely, it's just getting way better. So keep up the good work, brother, for sure. Don Juan, what you got?
Appreciate you, bro.
It's your boy Don Juan signing out. Make sure to follow those handles on the bottom of the screen. Triple M, what's up? Don Juan 607, NYK Fans Wilding. Of course, Off the Ball Network, always holding it down. And of course, the guest himself, Ersin. Say your last name again.
Demir.
Demir.
It's actually it's like it's a Turkish name. I have Turkish roots. It's actually Ersin Demir. So it is
Ersin Demir.
the opposite of how you pronounce it in English. So Ersin is good, So
it was a pleasure having you. Make sure to follow my guy on Twitter, and of course, we're trying to run the numbers up on 100 subscriptions. What we got now, 91, 92. But make sure to subscribe to our channel. We're doing a giveaway at 100 subscribers. Run the numbers up. Make sure to like the channel as well. And thank you guys for watching.
Yes, sir. Said perfectly by Don Juan. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button, man, for sure. And big shout out to our guy Ersin, our brother from Off the Ball. Oh, like I mentioned right now, his content has gotten way better. It was good in the beginning, and now it's getting great. I mean, shout out to my guy, and shout out to him for always being on the show, because we're gonna definitely see him around draft time again for sure, people. I mean, this guy is knowledgeable. You got to check out that top 100 board. It's really, really good. I started looking at it because, I mean, all this losing just got me looking, little.
Gonna get the tankathon running again, bro.
Coming, man. Yeah, but you already know the vibes. Your boy Triple M in the building. As I always say before we get up out of here, man, enjoy life. February in New York City. If you're from the city, it's cold, man. Snow, rainy. Perfect time to be chilling, man. Chilling, game planning and reaching new heights, man. Always improve yourself, man. As always, we up out of here. Triple M, Don Juan, Ersin in the building. Holla at you.